You know, nowadays, if you talk to a wrestler, if they do an interview with him, the first thing that come up is, what's your gimmick? Or you're this gimmick. Well, you know, that's what was so unique and different about me. First of all, I didn't have a gimmick. The gimmick I had was me. That is truly me, the way I acted. The intensity, to be ferocious, to be aggressive. When a guy's down, I'd kick him. I'd kick him harder. I had a bodybuilder's body, 20 and a half inch arms, body fat of 5% or less. And I used this and I incorporated that, which made me so much different than anybody else. And that's why I hold so many records today. The largest attendance that ever watched an outdoor wrestling match was myself and Hulk Hogan. 78,000 people, still stands today. I owe a lot to Eddie Graham for giving me that opportunity, and also for Hiro Masuda, who trained me for 8 months, 5 days a week, and put me through you know what. And it was the toughest thing that I've ever done. I mean, I've been to 4 days in the NFL camps, same thing in college, high school. It didn't come close to what they put me through. They tested me. They tested my will. They wanted to see if I was tough enough. They knew I was an athlete, but they didn't know if I had what it took to be a professional wrestler. To wrestle in front of the largest crowd ever in professional wrestling outdoors in Toronto, Canada, was one of the big thrills. But I think most of all might have been the first time I went to Madison Square Garden, sold it out. First WrestleMania, probably the best WrestleMania that there ever will be. It's just the hype and the electricity everywhere in the United States that we used to go for that first WrestleMania. It was amazing. You would have thought that it was a heavyweight fight. One time an old fella told me, he said, you know, if you don't say who you are and if you can't show them who you are in the ring, then you'll never really mount to nothing. And that's how I took that. So every night when I went out there, I made it a point to outshine anybody in the ring. I made all the attention on me. I didn't even care about anybody else. It was all about me, because I knew down the road it was money in the bank. And that's what I did. A lot of my moves and everything that I did was totally different than the way it used to be. And that's why I think I helped change what wrestling is today. And of course, it needs another change, and that's to be back the way I was in the 80s. If you're going to get in this business, you need to bring something to the table. You know, if you're 5'9" and you're 5'6", or you're 6 foot and you got a 38-inch waist and you're fat and you don't work out, come on, man, get real with yourself. Do you think people are going to come and pay to watch you wrestle? You got to be something special. You know, you got to be a giant. You got to have 20-inch arms. You got to be a freak. Was there anybody that was equal to me as far as talent, being aggressive, being vicious, or any of these things? It would have to be a person that possibly played college football, or even pro football, that had that intensity, that had that will to win. Maybe somebody that might have been an Army Ranger or in the Navy SEALs. It would have to be somebody of that caliber to even tickle my feathers, you know. Everybody else was, it was just another walk in the park. But I liked a good, tough match, and I only had a couple of them in my 25 years of wrestling, and both of them were against myself. The first time that I wrestled Hulk Hogan, I believe it was in Poughkeepsie, New York, at a TV. And we were partners at the time, but he got the big head, you know. He wouldn't call me back when I, you know, left messages. And finally, when we got to the ring, and one thing led to another, they ended up carrying him out in a stretcher after I pile drove him. And I would say from that time on, and that was, you know, I like that, because I like hurting people to start with. And doing that for him, and just to teach him a lesson, you know, a lesson that his mama and daddy should have done a long time ago, and I had to do it. So in other words, you want me just to go off again, is that it? Well, let me tell you something, Hogan. If I tell you a mosquito can pull a plow, hook him up. If there's two things that I can't stand, is a dog chasing cars and a broken down wrestler chasing me. Hogan, you got a little of both in you. I'm going to break you and I'm going to spank you like your mama should have done a long time ago. My accomplishments, I think probably the thing that does mean the most to me is the respect that I have, the respect amongst the other wrestlers, and whether they like me or not, the respect of the promoters that I've been with. The bottom line is that, you know, I helped make careers. I mean, I made Hulk Hogan what he is today, and everybody else that ever stepped in the ring with me. I was a very, very emotional, aggressive, vicious, all these things wrapped up in one. And back in the late 70s and the early 80s, they didn't have anybody like that. I had the body for it. I had the right mind for it. I had the intensity. I had a lot of things that I've watched on TV that a lot didn't have. I was a rebel type guy. I mean, I don't mind telling you. I spoke up for myself. If I thought, you know, I have that right to do that, and I did. So I didn't play politics very good. My whole thing was that my ability, and I would outdo anybody that we had. And that's what I did, and that's how I kept my job. I got to the point that they couldn't get rid of me, no matter what. First WrestleMania was probably the greatest thing, you know, to see Muhammad Ali and him sucker punch me when I wasn't, you know, even looking at him. You know, what kind of guy would do that but Muhammad Ali? You know, and Cyndi Lauper and Hogan and Mr. T and all these people. You know, the people all came there for one reason, that was to see Mr. Wonderful. That's the bottom line. It's the same way in Toronto, where I drew 78,000 people came to watch Mr. Wonderful for the same reason that you're going to buy this video game. You came to buy it to see Mr. Wonderful. It's that simple. Life on the road, 300 plus days a year. A lot of ribs we played on each other. Was it fun? In the beginning, yeah, it was fun. You know, there would be 4 of us sitting in a car. You know, we'd all split the gas. Some nights we wouldn't even get paid, you know, making $15 a night. I didn't have a silver spoon, you know, I wasn't born with that. I mean, everything I had to earn. I had to fight for. To get in all the politics and all the gaga and the goo-goo, that wasn't really for me. And we had fun, sure. I mean, I've had my bags all locked up with padlocks and stuff, and I had 20 locks on a bag, and then they'd take and nail your boots to the ceiling. And oh, you know, they used to put inch of powder in your underwear, you know, after the shower, and then underneath your shirt, all sprinkle it all over the place. You know, we used to do all kind of little things, but in the beginning it was a lot of fun. But towards the end of my career, it's work, being away from your family, away from your kids, just not being able to go to church and not being able to do the right things you need to do in life. If you play a contact sport, you're going to have injuries. And if you don't have injuries, then you must be sitting on the bench. That's the way I look at it. And I never was a bench warmer, and nor was I ever a water boy. I was out there with my head. I was sticking my head in there. Same way I wrestled so aggressively and so intensely that I put my body, I mean, I was doing something every second. Every body part, something was happening. And I was reckless and in abandon. And, you know, I've broken toes and fingers. I've been split open, both eyes. I had a number of stitches in both eyes. But the most severe thing that I've had, and I've had knee surgery, was my neck. I've broken my neck 3 different times. If you look at the real good ones, they're all been hurt. I mean, look at the guys that's had these neck injuries, because a lot of the moves are so dangerous, and they're out of control moves, and if you keep doing it, you're going to get hurt. If you live by the gun, you die by the gun. I'm paying for my rough and tough days, you know, as being a wrestler. And these are things that you need to look at in a lot of these young kids out there that, you know, have this embedded in their mind that they want to do this. And even football, you know, because you'll pay down the road. And quite frankly, my advice to you would be is don't. Man, use it up here. Man, use your brains, because using your body, you could use your brain forever. Your body, you can't. And I thought I was invincible. And when I got hurt, you know, it was career ending. I mean, ending my career, period.